Hello everyone, I'm Mrs. Alpa Doshi, moderator, Organization of Commerce and Management. We are here today to discuss the entire paper presentation tips on how to be appearing the board exams for the subject of Organization of Commerce and Management. So we would begin right away. As you see here, we have some HSC exam guidelines to be presented, and this will actually prepare you and give you a lot of insight into how it is going to be very easy for you to prepare and present your papers. So basically a rough guideline about how you're going to be, what are we going to be talking about, is that we will be first beginning with the paper pattern of the internal application-based test, which is going to be conducted by the college. We're also going to be talking about the importance in the new paper pattern. There is a massive weightage on what is the importance of how we are going to be dealing in case of too much of weightage on objective type papers. So that question is now very important in the new board paper pattern. And I would really highlight this point. So please make sure that you're going to be preparing objectives thoroughly. Further in the session, we will be discussing the theory paper pattern, the one which has 80 marks, the written paper that you're going to be appearing by the board. We are also going to be talking about how you will be presenting your answers, what should be the length of your answers, what should be the headings that you should be giving, how would you rather distinguish between, etc. also. There is a particular weightage of marks which the board has always given. So each chapter has a particular weightage of marks. According to that unit-wise weightage of marks, we are going to be seeing the September board exam paper. Okay, so the board paper which was held in September, you will see is precisely set according to the unit-wide distribution of marks. Also, we will see, a kind of an order, which chapter is the most important, so which should be done first, which should be done second, and which should be done last, etc. So do hang on to the session and make sure that you have a paper and pen to take down your notes. You can take screenshots whenever you think you will need to refer later. And otherwise, I have my YouTube channel on which all of this has been discussed at length, which I will be telling you about a little later. So all of these hacks will help you present your paper well. We now go on to the basics of our paper pattern. You see you have 100 marks of theory paper, a total 100 marks in the paper, out of which 20 is the internal exam, which is going to be conducted by the college, and 80 marks is going to be your theory written paper, which will be conducted by the board. As we know, earlier the project work was earlier the project work which was required is now replaced by the internal application based test. Please remember there's a specific date which will be mentioned, and the schedule will be put up after the hall ticket will be issued. So you must report on that day, that time, in that particular room number which has been allotted to you, and make sure that you don't miss out on that internal test. So keep in touch with the schedules put up by the college. We now talk about the first internal paper pattern that you have to attempt, the 20 marks paper. 1 hour will be allotted to you. A sheet of paper with the questions printed will be handed over to you. Your answers have to be written in that paper itself, and the college has to save the paper, keep a record of those answer sheets for 1.5 years as the board requirement is. The paper pattern of this application-based test is, the first question is an objective type. All of these first, second, and third, as well as the fourth one, you will find in the exercises which are given behind your textbook after each chapter. Out of those 10 types, these are the 4 or 3 types that you have in the sample paper. So the board has specifically given us this pattern. So every college has to set their application-based test exactly according to this pattern. So the first question has to be correct the underlined word. A particular sentence will be given. One of the words will be wrong. It will be underlined. And you have to correct that underlined word. Mind you, you have to correct only the underlined word and don't change any other part of the sentence. And of course, you have to rewrite the sentence. Space will be provided over there and you have to rewrite the sentence. So this carries 4 marks. The second of the application-based test is similar to the fill in the blank, called as complete the sentences. So we have 4 marks here. Once again, a sentence is given. The problem is you will have to remember the answers. There's no multiple options given. There is nothing like a match the pair. So you have to kind of prepare well and make sure that you know the important terms and concepts which are going to be there in the objective type. The third one, as you see, could either be a 3 marks on odd one out, or it could be the type which is called as arrange in proper order. For example, in case of arrange the proper order, you may have something like National Commission, District Forum, and State Commission. So you have to rearrange this and write the sequence as it is supposed to be. The District Commission, State Commission, and National Commission. So you have lots of sample questions given at the in the exercises, which are at the end of your chapters. Thoroughly, you must solve these, and that will really guide you into appearing the paper. Especially the new types, which are not there in the old board paper pattern, need to be practiced from the questions given behind your exercise, behind in the exercises after each chapter. So totally out of 20 marks of internal test, 11 marks of 1 mark objectives are going to be asked. 4 plus 4 plus 3. We now talk about the 4th question in your internal test, which is also going to be there in your theory paper. Study the case or the situation and express your opinion. So again, you see here that the question paper in the set by the college will carry 4 marks, out of which you have to be attempting any 3. So these 3 is what you will have to be preparing. You will see that there you could even attempt an extra question here. Since you have, in case you've gone wrong, the highest scoring answers will be marked. So we see here that totally we have 9 marks of case studies, and altogether your paper is going to be 20 marks. As we see here that the case study is also nothing but an objective type. An important factor I would like to highlight here, if you see, the internal paper had 11 marks of objectives, and your 80 marks theory paper also has 20 marks of objectives. So together, just 1 mark objectives out of 100 is going to be for 31 marks. Also, you see the case study question, which is very much, I would say, an objective type question. You're supposed to answer in 1 sentences. In the internal test, we saw that you're going to be asked 3 case studies, which carry 9 marks. And in the theory paper, again, you have a question where you're going to be asked 2 case studies. So we just saw in the previous slide, there is 31 marks of objectives plus 15 marks of case study. Totally 46 marks out of 100 is completely on the objective type question. So please do understand the significance and practice old board papers, which are also a very good sample for all the chapters which are common between the old and the new syllabus. And also you must practice all the exercise questions which have been given behind in your textbook. So case studies also in the September paper were ditto as per what was given in the textbooks. So these 46 marks are your jackpot. Once you've prepared these very well, your 90 marks or 95 marks out of 100 is easily possible in organization of commerce and management. Coming to the board's unit-wise distribution of marks. So the board has given specific number of marks, weightage to each chapter. Any question paper has to carry 12 marks on the first chapter of Principles of Management. The board question paper has to carry 15 marks on Functions of Management. In fact, your prelims papers also would be exactly according to this weightage, which has been identified by the board very clearly. So once you have done this, once you have seen this, you now are sure that business services chapter carries 27 marks. So you have to understand the importance, which chapters should be prepared well. I will also be showing you, like I said, a chapter-wise important chapters. So which are the most important and least important, a sequence of that. So this is how it appears in your index. Now, talking about this column in the blue, the option marks with option, this will vary from one student to the other, because each student will choose a different question from the optional questions given. The entire question paper, of course, is set for 116 marks, out of which students will be attempting 80 marks. What's important is this column in red, where you see that consumer protection chapter has 17 marks. The chapter of marketing has 20 marks. And the highest marks is by the topic number 4, business services. At this point, students, I would like to highlight to you about the 2 major jackpot chapters, as I call them. In this year's deleted syllabus, we know that from the business services chapter, 2 major topics of transport and communication have been completely deleted. For this year, we have syllabus is reduced by 25%. So these 2 topics do not exist. However, you see the chapter continues to carry this 27 marks of weightage in any case. So you can imagine, out of 5, when 2 topics have been removed and there are only 3, you see 27 marks for those 3 topics makes the chapter a jackpot chapter, as I say. Similarly, another jackpot chapter that I would tell you about is this chapter on consumer protection. Once again, there are 2 topics which have been deleted out of the few topics that the chapter has. And plus the chapter carries 17 marks. So if you will see that this is yet another jackpot chapter which should be done thoroughly well, so that you can be sure, because you can be actually sure that you're going to have lots of everything that is there in the chapter is going to be covered in your question paper. So we'll be discussing about these things in detail a little later as well. Moving ahead, let me show you how this chapter, these marks, exactly these many marks have been given in your September board exam. The new syllabus, the new board paper has only one sample paper for you all to refer, and that is the September 21 paper. Would highly recommend everybody to take a, to have a copy of that paper. Actually, you can take a printout of it and you keep referring each time you are studying. If you will see that, as we see, the chapter number 1 carries 12 marks. So let us see in the September paper, what was the questions which have been asked. On 12 marks, chapter number 1, there was 1 objective, there was 1 term or concept which carried 2 marks, there was 1 justify on this chapter, and there was 1 short note. So if you see here that there is no long answer on this first chapter, and as you already know, there are no distinctions on this chapter, plus in this paper pattern, they did not ask a case study in the September exam. So this is just a sample. So in this sample paper, if you see functions of management, there was a case study. Emerging modes of business, 1 case study was asked. and social responsibility. So this is how the 3 case studies came. Distinctions came from the chapter of functions and business services as well as consumer protection. In fact, these are the 3 main chapters which have the distinctions. The other chapters barely have any distinctions. So this question is going to be kind of the same, this scene of distinctions coming from chapter number 2, chapter number 4, and chapter number 7 is going to be fixed. So this is how your, this is something called blueprint, and anybody who sets the board paper will have to follow these weightage of marks, and he'll have to see how he's going to fit in all these marks. The permutation combinations can be many in this. We now start with the main board paper, the question paper pattern that we have. In this year, let me make a correction here. You are going to be given 3.5 hours this year instead of the 3 hours which had been allowed by the board all these years. So since students seem to be out of practice in writing, board has given this special permission to continue the paper for 3.5 hours. In any case, let us see how question number 1 is going to appear. So if you see here, as we said in the exercise behind each chapter, there are 10 different types of objectives which have been given. Okay, so you have correct option, match the pairs, give one word, true or false, etc., etc. Out of these 10 types, in the board paper, you are going to have any 4. It could be any 4 out of these 10. Okay, so in different years, there will be different combinations. Okay, if you see, out of these 4, each one is going to carry 5 marks. So there will be 5 match the pairs, or 5 true or false, or 5 complete sentences. Totally 20 marks. This is a question where there is no choice. Remember something very important. What happens if you don't have a choice? Okay, when there is no, all questions are compulsory. It means that suppose you are not doing a certain chapter, you're leaving it for choice. You still will have to do the important objectives of that chapter. Okay, so there are shortcuts to it of how you will manage that and how will you, still be able to leave something for option. We will be discussing that later also. Like I said, I have a YouTube channel on which I have uploaded all of this details at length. So if you wish, you could go to my YouTube channel, which is called Alpa Doshi, where I'm giving only HSC exam guidelines. So based on my moderator sessions, I have prepared certain videos, and that will give you a complete overview of how you're supposed to be presenting. There are 2 special videos. I will be talking about them later. Moving ahead, if you see here that whether or not you are going to be having leaving a particular chapter for choice, make sure that you solve each and every objective from that chapter, from all the chapters. You have to learn them, because you cannot anyways lose a single mark in your objective. You have to score 20 out of 20. We've done a rough bifurcation. When we saw the internal test specifically, you will have odd one out, complete sentences, or correct underline word. So perhaps we assume that the board paper might be set on the other types, though of course it can be repeated. So this is how you have your 4 out of 10 will be appearing, carrying 20 marks. That was your question number 1. We move backwards again to see our question number 2. This is again a new type, did not appear in the old board paper pattern. It says, explain the following terms or concepts. Again, this carries 2 marks, and you will be given 6 in the question paper, out of which you have to attempt any 4. So totally 8 marks. What is the length? What are you supposed to write? We will be discussing each of these questions at length. Right now, let us focus on what is the paper pattern. So first question was objective. Second one was about explaining terms or concept 2 marks question. We now go to this third new type in the new paper pattern, and that is study the following case situation and express your opinion. Once again, a lot of practice questions have been given, and a paragraph, a passage is given. There are questions which follow, and you have to answer the questions based on the passage or the entire information that has been given in the question. Try to solve an extra one here, just like you can also solve an extra in your internal paper. So as we said, the same question or case study is for 9 marks in your previous internal test paper and another 6 marks on in your theory paper. Once again, these are questions which you will finish in a few minutes. So you will finish like 6 marks in just a matter of 3 or 4 minutes. So how to go about doing it? We are coming to that in our later part. Question number 4 in your board paper pattern has distinction. In your board exam, you have to attempt any 3 out of the 4 which will be given there, and each one carries 4 marks only. Previous board papers had 5 marks. So if you're referring to those answers and you find them very big, maybe there are 8 or 10 points here, you can settle for 7 points because your paper pattern has 4 marks each. Once again, question number 5 and question number 7. If you see answer in brief and attempt the following, both of them are very similar to something that we call as short note. So both of these, but the marks are different. Here you are supposed to attempt 2 short notes for 4 marks each, and in attempt the following, you have 2 short notes of 5 marks each. The problem here is every answer, say for example, outsourcing, could be asked for 5 marks, attempt the following, or for 4 marks as well. So your problem is you will have to prepare all the short notes at length so that you can write a good answer. Even if it's a 5 marks, you should be having a good length or a good detailed answer for attempt the following as well. So prepare, in the same manner. And if you're asked answer in brief, sometimes in answer in brief, they might mention explain any 4 or explain any 5, that's a possibility, like we had been informed in our training sessions. So this is about our answer in brief and attempt the following. The question between the two, that is justify the following. Apparently, it appears to be a new type. However, remember, justify the following is exactly same to the true or false with reasons which appear in the old board papers. However, here only true statements and reasons are going to be asked. So it is exactly similar to the old paper pattern question of true or false with reasons. Do use that old board papers to practice this question as well. I'll be talking more about it in the later slides. The last question that you see here, we have 1 long answer. There will be 2 in the paper and you have to attempt any one of the 2. Which chapter they will be coming from, which chapter long answer should be prepared, which chapter you're not going to get. All of these details are there in the later slides. Plus, like I said, there is a special video I've made on chapter-wise weightage of marks, which will also give you a highlight on this. So talking about the first question in our objective type, as we already discussed, you're going to be having 4 types. Each type will have 5 marks, total 20. No choice is going to be given. If you see here, something very surprising about students, they change the order. They attempt the second one first and they attempt the 5th one second. Please do not change the order. Maintain the same order which has been given in the question paper. If you do not know a particular answer, leave it blank for the time being, but go sequentially according to the numbers, and you don't even change the numbers. Just write the number one in the paper has to be number 1 in your answer paper. even if you're answering, very often when students attempt, say for example, out of 4 short notes, they're attempting the first and the fourth one. Okay, they write it as number 1, number 2. Please do not do that. The numbers given in the question paper will be obviously same in your answer paper as well. We must try our best to make the presentation clear, make it easy for the teachers to read your answers. So leave lines, proper margin, proper spacing is very important. Underlining, boxing your important answers, especially in the objective answers. Please make sure that the teacher doesn't have to run around searching on the paper. Box them, underline them clearly, and that will make it easy for them to assess. So the question numbers all through the paper in every subject are very important. Do not forget to write the numbers and the sub-question numbers also. We now start discussing at length about the question number 2. Since this is a new type, lots of students have questions and doubts regarding what should be the length, how long should the answer be. Very often we have seen students attempting half a foolscap page, but please remember 6 to 8 lines is what we expect. The answers could be any 2. You write meaning and examples, or you write meaning and an important feature, or you give meaning with definition, etc. Any 2 things. Try to be precise. Do not write very lengthy answers. Once again, anything which is important, like the keywords, make sure that you underline them, box them, whatever. So this is a new type. Please understand. Say, for example, you have a question on, let us say, outsourcing. If you're talking about outsourcing, you give the meaning and you give some examples. Correct? Suppose you're having, explain term or concept, planning. You give the definition of planning and mention one important feature of planning. Explain that. So when your answer has 6 to 8 lines, that will suffice, but do not get carried away and give too long answers. The next question, as we said, the case study question. Remember that this is a particular type where a paragraph is going to be given. First of all, identify which chapter that case study belongs to. And each question, naturally, all the 3 are from the same chapter. Your answers should not be in small words. They have to be in a sentence. Okay. We want just a brief answer, something like answer in 1 sentence. Plus, say, for example, the question is about who amongst the following is the performing the planning function. So you want to mention it as Mr. Shah. So that Mr. Shah, you could put it in a box, but the sentence has to be Mr. Shah is performing the planning function as he is the entrepreneur or the owner of the organization. So you will find these answer right from the paragraph given on the top, the passage given, and that's how it's going to be very simple. So here again, you have to attempt 2. There is an extra one. You could solve the extra question, and the ones which you carry the highest marks will be considered. Here I would like to bring to your notice about a very special app which Maharashtra State Board has prepared. I'm sure you have already been using it. I will repeat in case you've forgotten about it. Refer to the Maharashtra State Board Textbook Solution Digest app. Go to the App Store, download the app, and you will find these practice questions, case studies. Of course, the app has answers up to only the 6th chapter. The 7th and 8th chapter answers have not been uploaded. Even in the previous chapters, all the answers have not been uploaded, but it is too good for practice. So please remember this. The question on distinguish between, as we said, again is only 3 out of 4. You have to attempt any 3. There are only 3 specific chapters from which you will be possibly getting in our textbook. For 4 marks, we will be attempting around 7 points. Give titles to each point and do not write the paragraph directly. Please make sure that you're giving head points. All right. So always start with the preferably give the meaning. Draw a very neat and tidy table. Don't make it, use a ruler and a pencil. There are going to be 4 columns. First, we will give the serial number. Second, title. So you have to write the head points of every point of distinction, and then whatever has been given in the question paper. The first one will come first, the second one will come second. Do not change that. All right. Suppose your question is running into the next page. Your answer is running into the next page. Please inform the examiner saying PTO or continue. So the examiner knows that the rest of your answer is still there on the back side. Once again, for practice, please use the Maharashtra State Board Textbook Solutions app, because you will find the distinction in pairs, which otherwise in your textbook, there are 5 or 6 topics discussed simultaneously. In the app, you will find good sample in pairs. Like we said, question number 5 and 7 is again just a matter of short note. So you see how you start with an introduction. You will have to give, you can write down just like your textbook has an introduction or a definition, and then it's explained. So start with that, give those head points, and the end, for every answer, try and see if you have given the answer on advantages of e-business. Give it a conclusion that this is the future and how the last 2 years has made the importance of e-business even more emphatically. It has been proved. So this is how you have given the benefits, and now you conclude on that basis. So this is something which is very, very interesting. When students have understood the topic, prepare 2 lines of conclusion for whatever topics you're studying. Suppose you're writing an act, mention the act, the year, mention the author whose definition you are using, and then start with the main answer. The main answer has to be in point form. Organizational Commerce and Management teachers do not like anything in paragraph form. Please write head points and explain. Head points and explain. Even if you are answering something like justify. Of course, in short notes, as you see throughout your textbook, head points have been given. On the next line, please start with the explanation. So answers have to be in point form. Always make it a point that you have at least, for 4 marks or 5 marks, at least 8 points should be explained in the main answer. And you will find that if you prepare well, any of your answers will easily run into 1.5 to 2 sides of foolscap page. So that should be the expected length. You might find it surprising now, but when you actually sit down to solve a paper, trust me, you would have seen that it is definitely going to run into 1.5 to 2 sides at least. We now talk about the 8 marks long answer question. According to the board, they have specifically given us the details that you have to either attempt 8A, the option is there, any one out of the 2. So you will either attempt the answer on business services, or if you don't attempt the answer on business services, the other option will be from functions of management or marketing. So that will change from one paper to another paper. You will have either functions in one of the papers and marketing in another year. So this is how your board paper pattern is going to be fixed. You have long answer question either from business services. Now, at this point of time, I would like to tell you about the 2 jackpot chapters that you have in your academic year. Like we already mentioned that since out of the 5 topics of business services, 2 have already been cancelled. What is left covers 27 marks. So we do not expect a long answer on warehousing. You have 3 topics left now: banking, insurance, warehousing. We expect that either a long answer is going to be on principles of insurance, like it was in September, paper, or the long answer can be on functions of bank or types of bank. I repeat, the long answer can be either on principles of insurance, functions of a bank, or types of banks. If you have prepared your long answer on business services very well, you may not worry. You can give lesser stress on the long answers of functions of management and marketing. So this whole paper pattern, the entire guideline will help you decide what to do, what to stress on, and what you may leave on option. The answer format for long answer, of course, is like an essay type question, of course. So you start with an introduction. Say, for example, you have a question on define organizing, explain the importance of organizing. Please remember, you're not going to start with the importance of organizing immediately. Please give a brief introduction on what is functions of management, explain the meaning and definition of, just 2 lines about the meaning and definition of organizing. And of course, then starts your main answer, which is for 6 marks. So 2 marks is for define organizing. The remaining 6 marks is for whatever types, features, functions, principles is the question. Once again, as I said, try and work out a brilliant conclusion. What do you conclude about the function of organizing? Or once you've finished with the principles of management, what do you conclude about them? Principles of management are a guideline which both the insured and the insurer has to follow. And if the insured does not follow the principles, the contract will be null and void. So this is a kind of a conclusion which you have understood why the principles have been made, and thereafter you give your conclusion. So this is how the format goes for a long answer question. Naturally, like I said, answers have to be in points. Do not give anything without points in OC. Now, I would request you to take a screenshot of this. Once the most important chapter that you should be doing, the jackpot chapter for that matter, please first finish the 4th chapter fully. Like we said, 5 topics are in the syllabus, 2 have been deleted, so the other 3 are very important. Now you see the 2nd chapter, which we mentioned in the jackpot list, is the consumer protection. Reason being, it has 17 marks and 2 major topics, as we said, have been deleted from this. So everything else in the chapter now becomes very important since 2 topics are deleted and it has a very large weightage. If you would otherwise think, sometimes students would think that, okay, so if consumer protection is important, next should be marketing. But I would beg to differ. Since marketing has a long answer, which is in option with business services, since functions of management has a long answer, which is in option with business services, so it is not necessary that even if it carries 20 marks and 15 marks, you don't need to do it before the other chapters. So you will first finish chapter number 4, then you finish chapter number 7. If you're done with the chapters, you do chapter number 1 thoroughly. Then you finish chapter number 8. Sometimes you might finish chapter number 5 even before chapter number 8. That's also okay. But this is how you will go. Now, the least important chapters I have marked in red. Suppose you decide not to do the entire chapter of functions of management because you have meaning definition, then you have importance and nature of each of the 6 functions. If you would wish to leave it for option, it is safe. However, what I have marked in red is very important. Distinguish between will have to be done from this chapter. So please make sure that you follow this, and maybe you can leave some last 2 topics for option, but the distinctions, objectives have to be done. So dear students, this is my YouTube channel. and it is called Alpa Doshi. It is just guidance lectures for OC. I mostly will be posting even this particular session on my YouTube channel for you to refer later as well. And don't worry, it's going to be easy. Your paper is going to be easy, and you will not have much of a problem, considering it is a COVID year and things are going to be, very chill for you all. So wish you all the best, and thank you very much for joining in. I will end the session now. You can connect with me on my YouTube channel or my email ID ocmwithalpa@gmail.com. Thank you very much.